Mr. Saurabh Kundu, welcome, is the Chief of Corporate Sustainability at Tata Steel with over 2 decades of experience in R&D and sustainability. He has been a key force in advancing Tata Steel's decarbonization strategies, working on carbon dioxide, abatement CCUS technologies, green hydrogen, and biodiversity initiatives. A prolific contributor to the field, Dr. Kundu has published over 80 peer reviewed papers and holds 8 patents. His pioneering work has earned him national recognition, including the Metallurgist of the Year award by the Ministry of Steel. Dr. Kundu continues to shape sustainable innovation and policy in the steel sector, both within India and globally. I think that is good enough to go
Awesome,
ahead.
awesome.
And now you
Welcome,
can.
Saurabh. Saurabh, extraordinary credentials. Yeah.
Thank you.
Please educate all of us. What should we do? Yeah, what is happening and what we should do.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And thank you, Metal Trends, for inviting me. Actually, I'm not so much, conversant with the Zoom platform because we are not allowed to use Zoom in Tata Steel. So, all those sorts of things are happening. So, sorry about that. I'll just take the problems of sustainability and the challenges that the steel industry is going to face in terms of GHG reduction in this particular forum. So I think Mr. Mangesh already kind of mentioned what I wanted to mention. He mentioned about 3 factors. So, and critically, those 3 factors are important. One is technology, second is cost, and third is, of course, regulation. Of course, there is another one which my favorite, and that is the customers. The steel customers are also have to play a role in this particular journey, and I'll try to explain what we mean. Now, I thought that I'll begin with technology because that is where I kind of I feel most comfortable. But today I'll not start with that. I'll start rather with the regulations because I think exciting things are happening in terms of regulations in India, and all kudos go to actually the ministry. Uh, Two things. First of all, just a week or so back, we have the BEE has came up with the CCTS carbon credit trading scheme, and all the companies, all the sites, in fact, have been given a target. Okay, CO2 reduction target which they have to meet. If they meet, then of course they can generate certificates which can be sold in the market. If they fail to meet the target, they have to purchase the certificate. That means there's an implication in terms of cost now, which is associated with the reduction of carbon, which is actually great because that is what was needed at this point in time. So that is number one. The second thing which has happened very silently is SEBI has asked the ESG rating agencies to come up with a little more transparent methodologies. For instance, S&P Global and Sustainalytics has recently announced that they are not going to provide the rating to the Indian investors. Now, it has got a great significance actually, because often when we actually apply for such ratings, we used to wonder that exactly what is to be done in order to improve the ratings, because it is important, because it is there in the market. Now, SEBI is asking the same questions to the ESG rating providers, and that is going to be a good step forward. In fact, BRSR, which has been introduced about 3 years ago, I think the tendency from now would be to gather data from BRSR, and then the rating will come eventually. That will be great leap forward for the Indian industry as a whole, not only steel industry but other industries as well, because often what we do is the great problem in the sustainability is to collect data and report the data, and there are hundreds of forums where you actually collect data and report it differently. Now that makes the job very, very difficult for all companies. Here it seems that we are trying to consolidate it here in India, and that's really great. The same debate, by the way, is also happening in Europe. They have come up with CSRD, they have come up, CDP has always been there, but there has been problems, and we openly discuss, because we also have, Tata Steel has our presence in Europe, and we often discuss this, that it is important to make sure that there is interoperability. If, for example, if we go for a particular rating agency, let us say CDP, now the aim of that, or the rating is happening keeping in mind the European framework, which is not directly applicable to India. So interoperability between in these different, by the rating agencies, or for that matter, the standards, are extremely important. And I think there is a step coming in towards that in India, and that will be great for us in terms of achieving the goals in sustainability. Now, technology and cost actually comes together here. Okay, we are discussing about raw material. I think Mr. Chandrashekhar was discussing about raw materials, and definitely there is a challenge in terms of raw materials, and we need to address it. If we go for low emission, processes, for instance, DRI, we cannot use coal. We have to use gas, and gas is not available in India. We have to import the gas as well as we import the coal, metallurgical coal. So it actually comes with a cost. Not only that, it also reduces the efficiency to a certain extent. So that is one aspect of it. Secondly, when you talk about improving the current processes, we all talk about hydrogen, bringing one way or the other hydrogen to the play. Now that also is actually, even if the technology in certain areas are ready, although in most of the areas it is not, it is still developing. Particularly, let's say if we want to use hydrogen in DRI, it is still evolving. Hydrogen injection in blast furnace, we have done, Tata Steel has done some trials, but the cost is a problem there. So cost wise, if hydrogen becomes cheaper than $2 a kg, or about $1.5 a kg, then only it becomes viable. Now, hydrogen, green hydrogen particularly, is not available at that cost at this point in time. So that is also another problem when we talk about greening the steel industry with the help of hydrogen. And in my opinion, that hydrogen, particularly in India, is not going to come very soon. Second is another thing that we talk about is CCU. Okay, and by the way, if we use hydrogen, let's say the the capital cost increases by two folds, and the operating cost increases at least by 60%. Okay, let us go to CCU. We all talk about CCU, carbon capture and utilization. Let me tell you that if CCU has to be deployed, let us say in a plant which runs BF, steel making process, the cost of capital increases at least by 4 times, and the cost of operating cost increases at least by 80%. Now, this is a huge burden on the industry. So that is why the processes that we hear, particularly in general terms, that use hydrogen or use CCU, is not going to be so easy. So it is, we have to be we have to make sure that the things are coming in a way which is gradual, and at the same time, of course, it is improving in terms of GHG. So what could those processes be? Okay, if you see the Indian raw material, the coking coal is a problem, as we all import it, like gas also we import. We have to import. Iron ore is there, sufficient amount, but the quality is also a little bit of a question, because Indian iron ore has a lot of alumina and silica. And alumina and silica are not good for blast furnace operations. It is neither good for, of course, the DRI operations. So in the technology space, I think it is very important to think of technologies which are rather can take the Indian raw material. So Tata Steel, for instance, is working on Hysarna, which works with low quality ore, low quality coal. Of course, it uses oxygen, which is possible, and that is one way of utilizing the raw material that you already have and bring the cost of steel down. Of course, there are also established technologies like Corex, which kind of Indian steel industry didn't really adopt, neither the steel industry anywhere in the world adopt so much, but it has got great advantage because it uses low quality ore. It not uses says low quality ore, but low quality coal, and it can be attached with a DRI unit, and that reduces the carbon emission at least by 30 to 40%. Whereas the cost of steel making does not increase at all, because as it uses coal and low quality coal, the cost of steel making actually remains the same or reduced by 5 to 10%. So we have to look little out of the box in India in particular. We cannot really follow only the European trends, which is happening in terms of hydrogen or CCU, and we must deliver and must develop the solutions which are more India centric. Like in the regulations, it is happening. The same needs to happen in the technology space. If that happens, then I think the growth will be more greener, and we should be able to address that. As I said, that it is a great step because we have a CCTS in place now. We have been given target. So efficiency wise, we need to improve. We will improve. And if you see Indian steel companies, even before it came, they are announcing or investing in this technology. So I think JSW has announced a 5 million ton green steel venture. Tata Steel has already invested in and the plant is being built right now on the scrap based steel making. Scrap based steel making again increases the cost of steel production by 20%, but you have still taken it just to reduce, the go into the or walk in the path of sustainability. Now, having said all this, where the customer comes, when you go and talk to a customer, they all say that we require green steel from you, or we require low carbon emission steel from you because our scope 3 is increasing because of you. Where we completely agree. Yes, it is increasing. But when you talk about whether they are ready to share the cost, it still does not come. So the demand for green steel in India need to rise in a manner that it also helps this decarbonization journey. As I said, that there is a demand from the auto industry to use 20% or more recycled content in the steel making. That means, scrap, okay, clean scrap. As I said, that if you use clean scrap in steel making, the cost of steel making increase at least by 8%. I'm sorry, about, let's say, 20% or so, 8,000, 10,000 rupees. Now, if that happens, the cost needs to be borne by the value chain as a whole. It cannot be only seen, cannot be only, steel industry cannot only bear this. So this has to be the rating system, for instance, has come. Star rating system has come, and that has been introduced by the Indian government, which will prompt actually the green. I mean to say that green public procurement, which will help us definitely. Uh, but the same needs to happen in the public sector, private sector as well. So yes, so three factors: technology and cost, which are there together. Regulations, where we are doing quite well. In technology, you have to be little more, let's say, out of the box thinking, and little more approach, which is little brave than what we are doing right now. And on the other front, we have to make sure that this cost of greening has to be there. It has to flow in the value chain as a whole, and that is what is needed right now, and that will help us help the steel industry to achieve the targets of 2070, net zero, or for that matter, all the targets that is coming in between. Thank you very much. I think that is what I had. If there is question, then I'm ready to answer. Thank you.